UFC 311 just concluded, and man, it was pretty interesting, right? There's a few things to talk about. Complete domination from Islam, which is what we expected, what I predicted. Upset by Merab. I didn't expect that. Umar got tired. Nobody saw that coming. I didn't. I thought Umar looked great in his last fight, cardio-wise, against Corey Sandhagen. But Merab's pressure just too much. But we're gonna get into all that. But let's start out with Islam versus Moicano. Just pretty first round submission. I said exactly this in my last video that I totally could see it being like a Dan Hooker win, like a submission in the first round, and that's exactly what it was. Islam's darts was just so good, such a good choke, man. Moicano like panic tap. That was crazy, but yeah, domination by Islam. What's next for him? I don't know, man. I Is he gonna fight again at 155? Because the fight with Armin was supposed to happen twice now, and that's the second time he's pulled out. Are you really going to give him another chance? But then again, he can't go up to welterweight because he's too friendly with Bilal Muhammad. So, and there have been talks about him going up to middleweight. I think that's kind of insane. I think it'd be interesting, but I think that's a little bit insane. So we're probably going to see him again at 155, fighting Armin, hopefully for real this time. Yeah, but Islam looked great. He was on point today. But Merab versus Umar, this was one of the most, probably the best, one of the best bantamweight title fights ever that I've ever seen. And I predicted Umar to win because I thought his cardio was going to hold up, but I was completely wrong. We were all wrong because Umar was winning until just the pressure and pace of Merab was too much for him to deal with, right? And he came out and he said that his excuse was that he broke his hand, and I think you said the first round. I couldn't hear if you said the first round or third round. I'm pretty sure you said the first round though. But that doesn't even make much sense because he won the second round. That was his best round. So I don't really like that excuse. I mean, you could kind of see that he knew he lost and he was disappointed. But this was super interesting, and I think it was a good learning experience for Umar because at the end of the day, he did kind of get rushed to the title because of his last name. Let's be real. Like Merab had to fight so many people, and Umar just kind of gets shot up the rankings just because of his last name. So in that sense, it does kind of feel good to see a Merab victory here, and Merab showboating during the fight. Like he knew the tides were turning, but it was a pretty good fight, right? I thought there was going to be a lot more takedowns from Merab, but he couldn't really take down Umar consistently. The At the end, he got some good takedowns, but the wrestling was pretty even. Umar took Merab down, and I think Merab took Umar down, but they didn't really do much with it. They never really got any ground and pound or any submission attempts. And at the end of the day, it was just the pace of Merab that won him that fight. I think Umar could have won because Umar was doing great in the beginning. First round was close. Second round was clearly Umar's. But then he just got tired, man, and I just didn't expect that going into this fight. That's why I picked Umar. Because, previously in the past, the guys from the Dagestani camps have pretty good cardio, in my opinion. And they're usually very prepared. I don't know. Yeah, you said he broke his hand, but that doesn't even make sense, because if he broke it in the first round, you won the second round, and I don't know. And it wasn't his hand, he was fading. It was his cardio. Like, you could tell his movements were slow, so I think Umar's still the second best fighter in the bantamweight division, and I think he's gonna win. He's gonna beat everyone but Merab, and maybe we're gonna see this fight again. I hope we see it again eventually. It would be in a while. Umar would have to win a few more, especially after rushing him. But let's be real. Who beats Merab now? Does anybody beat Merab? Let me look up the UFC bantamweight. Let's just go through everybody here. O'Malley already fought. Umar already fought. Piotr Jan, Merab wins. Sandhagen, who beats this guy? Does anybody beat this guy? I really don't think so. I think, and with that win, right, we have to start talking about Merab in the top 10 greatest of all time conversation. Merab has beaten so many champions. He's so good. Even if Piotr Jan has a rematch, I'm still favoring Merab totally. But I don't think anybody's going to beat this guy at bantamweight. I think the only way he loses is if he goes up and fights Ilia Topuria. because Merab does get hit, and you just can't get hit against Taporia. But dude, Merab's a psychopath, man. He's just not like something's up with him, dude. Like just him in the cage, him fighting. He's just a crazy human being, bro. But it was an incredibly impressive performance, and it was super interesting to watch a Nurmagomedov actually lose, right? But what's next for Umar? I don't know, man. Maybe give him Piotr Jan. I mean, I feel like that'd be a good fight, but maybe someone even lower. I mean, he was kind of rushed here, so I don't know. Who do you give Umar? Who do you give Merab now? Seriously, who do you give Merab? Who's next for Merab? Are they gonna do the O'Malley rematch? They probably are, honestly, just because O'Malley is a star and people would want to see that. But realistically, I don't know what's next for Merab. He's already beaten so many of these guys. Is he just gonna do some rematches? Maybe, but incredible performance by him. Now, Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. I predicted Hill to win, and I was completely wrong. We saw a different version of Yuri, not completely different, but an evolved version of Yuri. As he said, he had a lot better head movement, and sure, he still had his insanely reckless, unpredictable style. Like he was like bouncing around. Like at one point, he literally just jumped into the air and didn't do anything. He just jumped straight up in classic Yuri style, and he was, I'm not, yeah, pretty much dominated Jamal Hill. I mean, it was kind of competitive, but I think every single round, Yuri was doing very well. The first round, Yuri dropped Hill real bad. The second round, I'm trying to remember. I think the second round was a better round for Hill. It could have, I think it was 1-1 going into the third, and then Yuri just kind of outclassed him from there. Jamal Hill, he didn't look anywhere near as good as I thought he was going to be. I thought after coming off of a long break, he was going to look a lot better, but he didn't, and Yuri was able to get it done, which I'm happy for. I'm super glad he won. And then Yuri calls out Alex Pereira for a third title shot, and dude, look, I love Yuri, but I just don't think it's possible for Yuri to beat Pereira with his style, right? Because I think the guy who beats Pereira is a guy like Izzy, someone with super clean technique, who it can be super technical and strike super technical with you. Yuri is just so wild. Pereira's gonna find an opening against you, and if he finds one opening against you, he's gonna drop you, like he has before, like so many times. So, what's next for Jamal Hill now? No, what's next for Yuri? Because they're not gonna give him Pereira. Ooh, also, Pereira versus Ankalaev was announced. That is a banger fight. I'm so hyped for that. And I think Pereira's going to win that too. And I'm not talking about that here. But what's next for Yuri? Yuri wins. I want him to fight Khalil Roundtree. That's what I want. I think that's an amazing fight. Yuri versus Khalil Roundtree. And I think, oh man, I think Khalil would win. Khalil was so impressive against Pereira. He was so fast. And he hits hard. You know who Khalil reminds me of? He reminds me of Joaquin Buckley. Just like a bigger Joaquin Buckley. And I would favor Khalil to beat Yuri, but this was a really impressive Yuri. And it showed that Yuri can still take damage and can still give damage. Now what's next for Jamal Hill? Oh man, let me look at the light heavyweight guys. I mean, you could give him a Rakic, maybe. I don't know. A Jan Blachowicz? Is that too crazy to say? A Jan Blachowicz? I would be okay with seeing a Rakic fight against Hill. I think that would be pretty interesting. Let's use fight history. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty good fight. Rakic versus Hill, knowing they're both coming off losses. And now a fight I want to talk about is Payton Talbott versus Rossini Barcelos, because this was one of the biggest upsets, like odd-wise, that we've ever seen. He was a minus 1100 favorite. Wow. That is crazy. Minus 1100 is crazy. And Barcelos kind of dominated it. And I mean, Payton Talbott just didn't have an answer for the grappling against the crafty vet, right? And he's young. It's a good learning experience for him. This isn't the end of the world. The hype train is totally gone now. But Barcelos had a great game plan. He implemented it perfectly. That's exactly what you have to do. That was a great win for him. Now, what's next for Payton Talbott? I don't know, man. I don't know what these guys are going to do next, because after that, you kind of need like an impressive win coming back from it. He needs to come and knock somebody out. to get some of this hype back because Barcelos just completely shut him down, essentially. There was nothing he could really do. Sure, he had some good moments on the feet, but he just couldn't stay on the feet. That's the problem, and this was one of the biggest upsets we've seen, so pretty interesting fight. But what to glean from this, right? Islam is still the best fighter in the world, you know. Moicano, people were talking about what if he gets it done. His Darce choke is just so good, and his grappling and his wrestling. I am gonna say, and you guys tell me if I'm tweaking or not, but I kind of thought that Islam looked a little bit weird, like in the face. Like he just looked a little bit red in the face. And I'm not. It was obviously a great performance by him, but I was a little bit nervous actually. I was like, oh my god, I feel like this card is cursed because I've been saying that this card is cursed. It feels kind of cursed, but maybe the curse was just two of the fights falling off. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting event. I think that the fight of the night, Jiri versus Hill, was amazing. Merab versus Umar was also amazing. Also, I didn't talk about Almeida versus Spivak. Spivak looked a lot better, Sergey Spivak, than I thought he was going to. If I remember correctly, before he was a lot fatter, and he seemed to have slimmed down or to be in better shape. He only weighed in at around 235, and Almeida was like 230. Um, and he looked good. For a second there, I thought he was going to pull off the upset, but Almeida was able to get it done in round one. I did predict him to win this fight. I don't think I said what round. So how did I do my predictions? Got this one wrong, this one right, wrong, wrong, and right. So not the greatest. Um, but Payton Talbott, man, this ruined so many parlays. You already know. But I think it was a really good card. I was super happy with it. I thought it was super fun. Anything to say about this? I mean, I should have known that Kevin Holland was going to get submitted. Of course, that's what he does. He always gets submitted. Almeida, Spivak looked good. I was surprised, but Almeida looked good as well. Yuri versus Hill was such a good fight, bro. I was so into that for every single second. These guys were just going at it. Yuri is so badass, bro. He's just such a badass samurai, dude. How can you not love Yuri, man? He's so badass. And man, I just can't get over Merab versus Umar. It was such a good fight, dude. And just seriously, I know we keep saying this, but who beats Merab now? And Merab, he's beaten so many guys. Let me look at his record just to make sure I'm not getting this wrong. But he's beaten like 4 champions plus Umar now, right? Merab. Like, it was insanely impressive. Let's see all. Wow, he's on a big streak right now. Let's see. Jose Aldo, Piotr Yan, Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley, and Umar Nurmagomedov. 5 in a row. I'm going to read that again. I'm going to read that one more time. Jose Aldo, Piotr Yan, Henry Cejudo, O'Malley, and Umar Nurmagomedov. Those are 5 of the best wins in a row. Like, can you name 5 better wins in a row than that right there? Umar Nurmagomedov, the undefeated guy from Habib Dagestan that everybody thought was like unbeatable. And these guys from Habib's camp from Dagestan in the past have been so hard to beat, and then Merab does it by his pace. And then O'Malley, the guy who everyone's hyping up, beats him. I'm not going to say easily. I honestly think, no, I'm not going to say O'Malley gave him a tougher fight than Merab, but than Umar. But Umar, he couldn't really hurt him. Now the wrestling was super even, and it was super interesting to watch. But they didn't really hurt each other too bad. There's some moments where Merab got clipped, and a few moments where Umar got clipped, but we saw Merab hurt by O'Malley in the 5th round, and we never really saw anything like that with Umar, which I thought we would because Umar has amazing kicks. But we just didn't get to see that, unfortunately. Henry Cejudo, I mean, that was an insane performance that speaks for itself. I don't even have to talk about that. Then Piotr Yan and Jose Aldo are just great wins. 5 back-to-back wins. I mean, this guy is definitely the top 10 of all time now. And if you don't think he is, you're just delusional, right? This guy is so good. Yeah, that's my recap, though. I think it was a very good event. And that is about it.